Hello there, vinyl community and YouTube. As you can see, it's another sunny day here in Sweden, in Sundsvall. Little chillier than the past days, but still a great one. Still I can have my summer shorts on. I have received a lot of great feedback for my video when I showed my Duran Duran collection, so I thought that why not? I do a series of videos where I show my collection of different artists. In first hand, those that I have many records with, of course, but I might also do a video where I showing my collection of the whole lot of artists that I have a smaller collection with, artists that haven't released just as many records. But it will also be a variety of genres, as usual. So I will, of course, mix 80s with maybe 70s and jazz. So today I'm going to show a series of jazz albums while sitting here in my new summer chair that I bought a couple of days ago. That one that you can lay back. I'm going to show here now an artist that I have a whole lot of records with. It wasn't planned that it was going to be this many, but it's an artist where you can find a whole lot of records with in different kind of thrift stores. And I found it, I bought it, and all of a sudden I discovered, whoa, did it become all this much? I'm going to show my collection today in the jazz genre of the King of Swing, Benny Goodman, that I have a whole lot of records with. I'm going to try not to take all that much time. I'm going to try to spare the names of musicians that plays and concentrate on the records and Benny himself. Benny Goodman still have been a favorite of mine ever since I was a kid. Fantastic musician. He can do most anything. He can play jazz in big band, small band. He has given his try in bebop, even it was worked. So it was good songs, but it wasn't maybe that much bebop. He also tried classical music, which worked, but wasn't the best thing he has done, though. But he is a man who can do almost anything, and done so many classics. He has one of the best bands, some of the best bands ever, with some of the best musicians. Only one problem might be that behind this total genius of big band leader or musician was, from what I understand, some kind of a dictator who was pretty hard when it came to leading his band, and there are several stories about him, and I've told them before here on the channel, so I'm not going to tell them here, but there's a lot of musicians who had several things to say about him. I have collected here different kind of formats also, CDs, singles, vinyl, and I also have some 78s to show. But I'm going to start with 78s. We're having here some of my absolute favorite labels when it comes to 78. Parlophone and their Swing series. This is Sextet, Shivers, and 7-Come-11. One of the classics that I've heard here every time, but it's also so great that I can hear it very often. Benny Goodman and Charlie Christian, fantastic combination. keeping with the sextet, Till Tom Special on Columbia, Gone with What Wind. We have a parlophone release here, another sextet featuring Count Basie, As Long As I Live. So fun to see these big band leaders cooperate, because it's not often you see that. And on the B side we have I Found a New Baby. Sextet, Limehouse Blues on Columbia, If I Had You. Another of my favorite parlophone, 1941 Super Rhythm Style series. Love these super style series from parlophone. Royal Garden Blues Sextet, Woolly Cats. The fantastic Oh Baby with Benny Goodman Orchestra and Sextet. And it is part 1 and part 2. And what I love about this song is that it actually is how it is built up, with the small band playing their stuff, and then it almost becomes a battle between the small band and the big band, which ends up with the both playing together. It's marvelous song, marvelous made, and Benny Goodman is actually singing here in this song. Orchestra, Wrap It Up, Columbia release with South of the Border. CDs. I have a lot less CDs than vinyls with Benny Goodman, but still, it's some great ones. Let's Dance. Son. Let's Dance broadcast 1934 to 45. It's from the Palomar Ballroom, and it's a doubles, 2 LPs on 1 CDs. I love these broadcast releases. This live is fantastic. The only problem is that some of them are a little bad sound on them, but I love jazz live and old live recordings. So this one is really great. I have concentrated. I have taken those albums that is Benny Goodman on with his own name on the album. I mean, there are a lot of sessions where he is participating that I also could have picked, but I have concentrated on those where he of course has his own name on the album, with one exception, and this one, because he still is on the entire album. This is the very best of electric guitar genius Charlie Christian. It's a compilation with his guitar player Charlie Christian. This one I have for only one reason only. It is released on Cedar MCPS. I told before what I think of this label MCPS. I think it sucks as hell. Sorry for the language, but I think it's horrible. Some exceptions, of course, but mostly. And when it comes to this album, you have information here about the songs. You have here a picture, but nowhere it says when it is recorded or with which orchestra, which I think is something that I really want to have when I'm buying jazz records, which orchestra and the recordings and so on. But you can hear it on, of course, on the music that it is with the Benny Goodman band. So only for the music I've kept it, even though the release is definitely really bad. Ordinary compilation. These are tons of these kind of compilations. This is the great Benny Goodman release on Goldies. You have King Porter Stomp, Bugle Call Rag. And nowadays this is some kind of a sport to try to find these recordings that are a little special. These recordings that isn't with the ordinary. There are tons of collection that contains King Porter Stomp, you have Sing 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 and the Angels Sing, Bugle Call Rag, every one of these ordinary big band songs. This one I got as a Christmas present, I think. But still, it is great music. So very interesting. Here is another compilation, Forever Gold, on Forever Records, something I never heard of. But it contains, of course, some of the most ordinary, with Shirley Christian, AC Current Shivers, and so on. But also some that I didn't have before, Superman and Just My Darling Daughter. That I didn't have before. I bought this one, so it's still great to have. But overall, I prefer to find these live, these odd recordings, odd bands and so on. It's much more interesting to find those than these ordinary compilations. Jazz Archives, a true collector's item, containing live recordings from Hollywood Palladium and Freedom Land in New York. One of my absolute favorites. This is Jazz Years. Swedish Radio has released this, and this is a CD that they made when Benny Goodman was in Sweden in 1950 with the band. I remember this. Part of it, of course, is also nostalgia, because this live recording was broadcasted in Swedish radio. It was aired in Swedish radio when I was a kid in 1987. I recorded it from it and managed then 8 years later to find this on CD. And so it's really fantastic, really maybe one of the best Benny Goodman concerts that I have. And Benny Goodman and his combos, 1941 to 55. Orchestra and combos, sorry. It's released by Giants of Jazz. But it doesn't contain just the ordinary songs, so why not? Even if Giants of Jazz is a little bit low budget, it works. Singles. I have so many Benny Goodman singles, EPs. Buck Go to Town, released by MGM. And this is, of course, orchestra, sextet, quartet, and trio. We have Benny Goodman, quartet and trio, trio, quartet, and quintet. Or tons of Benny Goodman singles in the bins. This is Benny Goodman Sextet, Ode to Swing, Part 2, and this is different sextet recordings. And I also have Ode to Swing Part 3. So hopefully I will find Ode to Swing Part 1 one day. Farewell Blues, Benny Goodman and his orchestra, and Bush Goes to Town on the other side again. As I said, many of these songs comes again in many kind of releases. Benny Goodman with Harry James, Lionel Hampton, and Barbara Tilton. This is songs featured in the Benny Goodman Story, the movie, and it is orchestra recordings. This one I've shown before when I bought it. I bought it in Stockholm. This is the Benny Goodman Touch. It is double EP set, featuring duo, trio, quartets, quintets, and it is definitely odd recordings. How often do you find Benny Goodman duo clarinet and piano. So this one is maybe one of the Benny Goodman EPs that I treasure the most. The Benny Goodman Quartet, Stomping at the Savoy and Dizzy Tunes. Dizzy Spells. We have Classics in Jazz, Ordinary Low Budget release from Capitol, Part 2. Still though, great recordings with septet actually. Swing mit Benny Goodman. This is a German release, Ausschnitte aus der Collegiate Hall Jazz Concert 1938. My German worked for once. This is pieces from the Benny Goodman from the Carnegie Hall concert 1938, which I'm going to return to later on. We have Benny Goodman and his orchestra here, another Columbia release. We have Benny Goodman Quartet and Trio, BG Jazz Concert. The famous Goodman dates. Is sextet recordings with Teddy Wilson also. Benny Goodman Swing International, released on low budget label Gala International. Not too fond of this label, but it still is Benny Goodman, fun to have. This one is another one of my absolute favorites. Benny Goodman in Walt Disney, Tour for Records. This is actually stuff that he made for movie. We have all cast join in, and After You've Gone, and there will be some changes made from the Disney movie Make My Music, where he did the music. It is this great tune where the instruments are dancing all over the piano, the piano keys, and really great to have this one as a release on a physical format. Benny Goodman and his orchestra in an EP, and the new Benny Goodman Sextet. And we have here it's Charlie Christian, but as you can see, the Benny Goodman Sextet with Charlie Christian. These ordinary 7 Cup 11, 6 appeal, Airmet Special, and so on. Permanent Benny Goodman, the portrait of music of the King of Swing. And we have Benny Goodman and his orchestra again. The Benny Goodman Story, Volume 2, Part 3, and we have a Volume 2, Part 1. This is Benny Goodman and his orchestra again, Columbia release, and Benny Goodman and his orchestra. The singles will never end, but now it is ended. So move these over here, and we concentrate on the full-length vinyls. Also is a whole lot, starting with I think the latest one I bought, but it was a while, the golden era of jazz, Live and Rare, Volume 4. I was a little bit out in buying this because I looked at it was also Let's Dance, AC Current, all this ordinary, but the reason I bought it is because it is an Hungarian release. Everything here stands on Hungarian. So it was pretty fun to have actually these, even if the songs are pretty ordinary. We have this double LP set, Benny Goodman in Moscow live. at the time when it was called Soviet Union. We have the King of Swing, Giant Jazz Gallery. Here is another label that I like very, very much. This is the CBS Jazz Masterpieces. These recordings, digitally remastered directly from original analog tapes, are often containing a whole lot of great stuff. This is slipped disc, 1945 to 46. Smaller band recordings with Teddy Wilson and Red Norvo. We have the alternate Goodman, volume 11, released by Phonostatic Nostalgia. And we have also volume 5. Benny Goodman, Sextet, Quartet and Trio, 1945. Teddy Wilson and Mel Powell, not at the same time though. Another one of my favorite labels. This is the French RCA Black and White label. It also releases a whole lot of stuff that isn't all that ordinary. This is Benny Goodman, his orchestra, trio and guests from 1935 to 39. Also with Gene Krupa Swing Band. Another one, compositions and arrangements of Jimmy Monday and Edgar Sampson. I love it when I have a theme of these. Like here is one special arranger and people who compose. Echoes of Swing Era. And another themed release, the Fletcher Henderson arrangements from 35 to 38. And we have some real great ones here. A trio of albums from the same series, released by MGM, Benny Goodman performance recordings, 37-38. Volume 1. Volume 2. Volume 3. Benny Goodman Trio. Teddy Wilson, Gene Krupa. Plays for the Fletcher Henderson Fund. This is actually a charity album. Benny Goodman presents arrangements by Edith Sauter. Jerry Newhouse presents Benny Goodman Trio, Orchestra, Trio and Quartet, 1938 to 39. These are recordings from those famous Caravan live recordings that I talked about before also in a previous contest. And speaking of the Caravan recordings, here is an album with Caravans. I've shown this one before. This one is real interesting. The sleeve looks horrible, I know, but I bought it because it must, even if it looks pretty horrible, and the albums, the records is so in quality. It was so interesting format to have, so I felt like I gotta buy this one. This is Jazz Concerts number 2 from 37 to 38, Benny Goodman Orchestra, Trio and Quartet. And look at Look at how it is put together. Spiral. I really love this one. This is a double LP set. A real great one, old one. So this one I really like, even though the quality is not all that great. Benny Goodman and his orchestra, Put the Swing Back, with Oh Baby. This was before I got Oh Baby in '78, so I bought it much because of Oh Baby, but also because it was a great album. Another release of from Giants of Jazz, Orchestra and Combo. Not the same though. And we have Benny Goodman today. Benny Goodman and his orchestra recorded live in Stockholm. But this is of course not the same. This one is recorded in the 70s. Still fun to have though. Famous Benny Goodman dates. Benny Goodman combos. 40s recordings. Date 30s. And a lot of these great CBS Jazz Masterpiece releases. Benny Goodman Sextet with Charlie Christian. Another one that has all these ordinary ones, but I felt like I couldn't leave this one behind. Benny Goodman, Volume 3, All the Cats Join In. And this one is interesting. It contains one of the songs that I remember from Swedish radio when I was a child, that I recorded on cassette when I heard it, a song called Mission to Moscow that I actually liked very much, and I finally have it on vinyl. But it also is some very great big bands recordings here. Benny Goodman Sextet. And Benny Goodman Volume 2, Clarinet à la King. And finally, I talked before about the Carnegie Hall concert. Here it is, the 1938 Carnegie Hall concert. And what was as fantastic about this concert is that when it was released, it was when it was made in 1938, it was a historical moment because it was the first time that a jazz orchestra had been able to play in this big concert hall. It was I remember reading that they were extremely nervous when they were playing this. Everyone was extremely nervous, and it felt like a band that wasn't just as groovy and swinging as they used to, until Gene Krupa at the drums in one song felt like, hey, this is not going anywhere. We need to start playing and what we used to. So he made one hell of a drum solo that literally woke up the band, and they realized that, hey, let's grab this thing and start playing now. And then after that they played the butt out of everybody, and it became this successful concert, maybe one of the most iconic milestones in jazz history. And we have here, he mixes between big bands and quartets, and even managed to play a German song here for some reason. So, these were Benny Goodman and his orchestra. I love Benny Goodman, but of course it gets harder and harder to find stuff that I don't have. So I hope to find more of these little odder releases, rare releases, concert releases, maybe some more trios releases or septets and so on. So I don't know which one I'm going to show the next, but it's time for the vinyl CD update soon also, so maybe that one is next. Until next time, I hope that each and one of you enjoys this wonderful spring. If you have it, take care everybody, and so long.